Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Out of the Park Baseball 26 series, Rescue the Rockies. And we are at the All-Star break in this 2026 season. And our Rockies, who were a 58-win team for all of 2025, are inexplicably 50-49, tied for second in the NL West, just 4.5 games behind the Dodgers, and we are only half a game out of a wild card spot at this point. So given that we're so close to contention, I did talk at the end of the last episode about potentially being buyers at the trade deadline. But when we looked at the players who were on the trade block and their prices, they were pretty high, especially given that although we are above 500 right now, I think we've just gotten incredibly lucky. As I mentioned, we were a 58-104 win team last season, and I don't feel like we've done anything material enough to get us over 500. So I feel like we've just had a very lucky season so far, and we're also in a situation where three of our starting pitchers at the start of this season, all of whom we acquired this past off season, are out with significant injuries. Both Alex Cobb and Clayton Kershaw dealing with torn rotator cuffs that are likely going to keep them out for portions of next year. Fortunately for us, we only signed them to 1-year deals. Sandy Alcantara still got another 3 weeks to recover from his injury, and Hunter Harvey, a reliever, likely to miss most of the rest of the year. So although we've been supplementing our pitching staff with guys from the minor leagues, getting to know them better, realistically, I don't think it's the right move for us to use resources to overpay for a rental. We'll continue to keep an eye on the market over the next week and a half until we get to the official trade deadline. If a price comes down, or if we reel off several more wins in a row after we get through the All-Star break, maybe I reconsider things. But right now, I think I take the fact that we're playing well and above expectations is a positive step in the right direction. But certainly we're not expecting this to be a 500 team, much less a contender for the playoffs. And I tend to think we probably will regress a bit over these last 2+ months of the season, whether or not we make a trade. Since the last episode, though, we have made an offer to the reliever Gregory Santos, who we just picked up in a trade. And he's willing to join us for the medium term, potentially. He's already into his arbitration years, but he's willing to consider a $27 million offer over 6 years. Probably at the high end of what we can afford to pay for a reliever, but really like his ground ball tendencies, really like his ability to keep the ball in the ballpark, and he's undoubtedly the most talented reliever on our team right now, so we're hoping that he is someone we can build around over the medium term, and hopefully within a few years from now, he can be a part of a team that really is a true playoff contender here in Colorado. And as I noted, we've now got a few days off for most of the team to recharge as we go through the All-Star break. Then we'll have 3 at Miami and 3 at Philadelphia. Off day next Thursday on June 30th when we'll ultimately need to make probably some final decisions on whether we're going to be buyers or sellers. But again, unless we do something like go probably at least 5-1 in those 6 road games, have a hard time imagining that we're going to be buyers over the next week and a half unless the prices just come down, and I don't anticipate that happening. And one little note, Jonathan Pera, who we looked at and strongly considered in the IAFA pool this year before ultimately going in a different direction. Had a monster game for the Reds, 5 for 6 at the plate, and he is hitting over 400 as a 17-year-old with their DSL team. So Mr. Para, who still looks like he could be a very interesting player, off to a very strong start in his professional career. And we're trying to make things interesting, going 3-1 since we got back from the All-Star break. So the record is 53-50 as we sit here on July 28th, lone in second place in the West, 4 games behind the Dodgers. And we are tied for the final wild card spot in the National League with the Reds right now, because the Cubs or the Cardinals would be the NL Central winner. So I'm going to keep an eye on whether any of the prices are coming down or whether there might be a deal for us to make, but it's going to have to be a deal that helps us for more than just this season. If we can bring on a player who can help us for multiple years, I think I'd be willing to do it. If it's a pure rental, I just don't think it makes sense. If we're a team of destiny, maybe we sneak into the playoffs whether or not we make any deals here as the trade deadline approaches. And we did get Santos signed to the deal that we had talked about. Looking at the contract, we're actually going to be paying him more than we would have over the near term, but kind of a $4 to $5 million price tag for him for the next several seasons, buying out his arbitration years as well as potentially some free agent years. And we do have some team options at the end of the contract to potentially protect us a bit if things don't work out the way that we hope they do with Mr. Santos. And we ended up winning our series against both the Marlins and the Phillies, 2-1 in each series on the road. So a 54-51 record, still 4 games out in the division, and still tied for that final wild card spot as we get very close to the trade deadline. Injury issues keep popping up. Aaron Ashby, sore shoulder that's going to keep him day-to-day for 2 weeks with a moderate impact on his throwing. I think we just kind of have to be cautious with him and put him on the IL. Only a 3-8 record for him this year, but he has been striking out a batter per inning and put up a 2.3 WAR for us. He is technically our number 1 pitcher at this point. And I've been perusing the options available on the trade block, particularly among starting pitchers, pretty closely, looking at all of the different options out there. As you can see, pretty much everyone who's available is in their 30s. A lot of these players are injured. Many of them are fragile or wrecked physically. And they're also generally fairly expensive as they're veterans. So I can't find anything that makes sense for us to do, which is a bit unfortunate because the pending free agent class for starting pitchers in particular doesn't look particularly impressive. It's a lot of the familiar names that are on the trade block right now, older and injury prone. One who might be the most interesting if he actually makes it is Jesus Luzardo. Pending on the price for him, and he was recently traded to the Phillies, or traded from the Phillies to the Mariners, although he wasn't previously on the trade block. If he really doesn't re-sign with Seattle and hits the market in his late 20s, he might be the most interesting option for us to try to pursue this upcoming offseason. Maybe Chris Bubich as well, but don't necessarily think either of those guys is going to be a true impact maker, and think that their prices are probably likely to ultimately be higher than the $10 million-ish that's listed as their demand right now when they get onto the open market, potentially in a couple of months. So I don't think there's a deal for us to do here with players on the trade block or players who aren't on the trade block. Unfortunately, I think we're going to hold tight and see if maybe we can keep the success going. But as I've talked about, I feel like we've just gotten really lucky and would not be surprised to see us dip back under 500 over the final couple months of the season. That being said, when we think about what ownership was looking for from us, they basically just wanted us to not suck completely after having a .358 winning percentage a year ago. So with 54 wins already, we can be pretty brutal the rest of the way and still show a significant improvement compared to where we were a year ago. And with Ashby going on the IL and with no reasonable trade, in my view, out there for us to have, we're going to bring up another youngster, 25-year-old Cam Schlittler. Picked him up in a trade with the Yankees this past offseason. Like some of his personality traits, the stats in AAA Albuquerque and the PCL are rough, a 2-6 record with a 5.91 ERA. That said, his FIP minus has been above average. He's put up a 1.4 WAR. Don't know that he's really much of a long-term answer for us, but he could potentially fit in the back of our rotation, especially for the next few years if we're unable to make significant progress in the free agent market as far as starting pitchers. So might as well bring up another guy in his mid-20s and continue to see what the youth of this organization can do at the major league level. And we lost our final game of the month to the Giants, and we have passed through the trade deadline at this point, taking a look at our team statistics, a third straight winning month and a third straight 15-win month for the Rockies. We have improved our winning percentage every month of the season, so you never know. I don't think we're really going to be there. 10th in the National League in runs scored, somehow third in the National League in runs allowed, despite all the injuries to our pitchers and pitching half of our games in cores. The results this year have definitely been inexplicable, but I'll take them. 4.5 back in the division, and we have now slipped a half a game out of the final wild card spots. We'll see how things go over these last 2 months. As I mentioned at the start of the season, my hope was to kind of get to like a 65-win team, maybe get to 70 wins in a really good situation. With the way we're situated right now, obviously would be a great disappointment if we didn't get to at least 70 wins, even if we do regress a bit over these final couple months. One piece of good news, Braden Nett, the young pitcher, was named the National League Rookie of the Month. Struck out 24 in 22 and 2/3 innings while putting up a 2.38 ERA for us with a 3-0 record, 3-0 overall with a 3.51 ERA for Nett on the season, who had been in a relief role before some of the recent injuries moved him into a spot in our starting rotation. And we did take the final 2 games in San Diego to kind of strengthen our grip on second place in the division, and that marks the 5th consecutive series that we've won. A lot of divisional games coming up the rest of the month. I can see we've got a couple at home against the Dodgers, and then later in the month, 4-game homestand against San Francisco before we go on the road to face the Diamondbacks and the Padres. And Sandy Alcantara looks like he is ready to come back August 8th. And, of course, we've got on that we can't trade away a player with more than 7 days with an injury, so we just missed the opportunity to potentially extract a little bit of value before the trade deadline with the timing of his injury. Is what it is. Good to have him back in the rotation. We still do have that team option for him next year. Can't imagine he's going to have a ton of trade value this upcoming off season, but if we decide we're not going to exercise that team option for next season. If there's anything we can get for him, maybe we can extract a little bit of value from him. Ashby also looks like he's about a week away, given the time he has to spend on the IL. Right now, to make room for Alcantara, we're going to send Seth Halverson, who's been up and down several times this year, back down to AAA, continue using some less proven major leaguers up here to get a good view of them, even though Halverson isn't a particularly old player either. And some good news and some bad news. We continue to play respectably at 60 and 57, although the Dodgers are hot with 5 wins in a row, so they've extended their lead on us to 7.5 games. Game and a half out of the wild card, so although we remain over 500, we're beginning to fade back a little bit. Good news is that Aaron Ashby, thinking very old school talking about Andy Ashby, ready to come back from his injury. Unfortunately, the reliever Hunter Harvey had a setback. He's going to be gone for at least 5 months, undergoing surgery tomorrow, so his season is officially over. We had hoped maybe we'd see him in September. Have a team option for $4 million on him next year, which, given that he'll be 32 next season, fragile physically, coming off of a serious injury, and he was very ineffective for us, we're unlikely to exercise, particularly with the fact that we did made that trade for Mr. Santos, who hopefully will be a better right-handed reliever for us at a similar price point. And as I noted, Aaron Ashby is back, but with Feltner continuing to pitch well and Alcantara back, we're going to, despite the fact that Ashby has pitched better than his statistics this year, continue to go with the youth movement, see what Bobby Miller, Braden Nett, and Cam Schlittler can continue to do in the rotation. Certainly not inconceivable with the likely departure of Alcantara, and honestly a potential departure of Feltner, that Ashby will be back in our rotation next year. Feltner is a real interesting situation, made his first All-Star team this year. We've talked a lot about him over these past couple seasons. 11-6 a year ago, 10-8 this year, 3.52 ERA, a 3.1 WAR. Particularly for a guy pitching half of his games in Colorado with these ratings, his performance has been shockingly good. So there seems to be, unless we're just having incredible luck with him, there seems to be something about Feltner that's hidden that our scout hasn't identified that's allowing him to be more effective than we would guess. But Feltner is a guy who is set to be making almost $8.5 million in arbitration this upcoming year. He has had very little or no trade value when we've tried to shop him. His teams have been scared off, I think, by his ratings. He's going to be a real interesting choice for us this coming off season. His performance on the field indicates he's certainly worth $8 million as a starter next year, but his ratings indicate to me that he could implode at any time, and maybe we should be a little more cautious about bringing him back at that type of price point. If you've got any thoughts on that topic or anything else, would love to hear them in the comments. And we've made it to the middle of August, a 7-7 record here in August for us. So we remain over 500, but we continue to fall further behind the Dodgers. 8.5 back in the division, game and a half out of the wild card. We'll see if maybe we can catch some lightning in a bottle in a couple of weeks when we get to September call-ups. Maybe bring up someone who can spark this team to some more wins and keep us on the fringes of the wild card race. Certainly would love to sneak into the playoffs somehow. Would really like it if we ended up with a winning record, but even sitting here on August 17th, I can't say I have a ton of confidence that either of those things will ultimately happen. And our Rockies just won't quit. We've won 5 games in a row, and we are actually half a game up on the final wild card spot. So would be feeling real good about where we're sitting on August 27th with a 67-62 record, and actually are feeling good about it. But our realistic chance to make the playoffs took a big hit today. Ezekiel Tovar, the shortstop, who's having an outstanding year for us, going to be out. He's got quad soreness for 4 days, but more importantly, a severe hip strain that's going to impact him for 5 weeks. So his season is likely over. Had an outstanding year for us, 281 average, 22 homers, 67 ribbies, also had 38 doubles, ended up putting up a 124 WRC plus and a WAR of close to 5, finishes the year with a 14.2 zone rating and 1.081 defensive efficiency, so definitely has a chance that he'll win the second Gold Glove in his career as well. So definitely a huge blow to lose our starting shortstop, who's been a cornerstone of our defense, and I think a big reason why our pitching staff has performed so well this year. And we've made a call down to AAA to bring back Cole Carrig, who's played really well when he's been up with us this year. He's actually going to become our shortstop with the injury. He's not totally proficient at playing the position, but he'll learn it at the major league level in the middle of a playoff race. His overall skills at the position are a little higher than Bo Bichette, and given that Carrig also isn't completely proficient at second base, try to just suck it up and have him learn the position at the major league level while we're, in theory, fighting for a playoff spot. Can't say that it's the best plan that I've ever had. And we've made it to the start of September, so we'll be bringing up 4 players to hopefully help us hold on to the final wild card spot in the National League. We've gotten to the 70 wins that was, in my mind, kind of our stretch goal with a month left in the season, 70-63 record. We're a game up on the Reds, 4 games up on the Nationals, 5 up on the Giants, and 6 up on the Diamondbacks for that final wild card spot. If we had played better against the Diamondbacks early in the season, who knows where we'd be record-wise. So a month to go. I still will be, I can't say shocked anymore, but I still will be surprised if we ultimately end up in the playoffs. But we'll do everything we can on the field to see if we can somehow sneak in, even though that's just going to likely accelerate expectations for success with Mr. Monfort and perhaps make our challenge here a little more significant if he starts expecting a lot more of us sooner than we were ready to perhaps deliver it. And we ended up bringing up only one position player, Marco Luciano, the minor league free agent signing that we did end up making a major league offer to keep him as part of our organization. Spent most of the year in AAA Albuquerque, where he really hasn't been that good, hitting .244, but gives us a little more defensive versatility and another bat off the bench. But the focus was bolstering our pitching staff. We brought both Seth Halverson and Anthony Molina back up, and then Takayuki Ryu, the veteran Japanese player who we signed to a minor league contract, was 8-7 with a 5.46 ERA in AAA for us this year. Spent some time in the rotation, also spent some time in the bullpen. We'll see what he can do at the major league level, give us another left-handed long relief arm. So hopefully we've at least got a lot of bodies on the roster to give us some flexibility pitching-wise as we try to hold on to a wild card spot and ensure that this team ends up with a winning record here in 2026. And with the September roster expansion and moving 4 guys from AAA to the majors, made a couple of key promotions from AA to AAA with the top 2 prospects in our organization. Charlie Condon ended up hitting .293 with 18 homers and 55 ribbies at AA Hartford, a 2.1 WAR. Honestly, doesn't look like he's ready to excel in AAA, but I think he can probably hold his own there. So we'll test him a little bit more down the final week or 2 of the season in AAA. Similarly, with our first-round draft pick from a year ago, Jamie Arnold, he was 6-4 with a 3.71 ERA at AA Hartford, put up a 2.2 WAR there, and hopefully we'll get the opportunity to start a couple of games for us in AAA as we try to see exactly what we've got with the number 24 prospect in baseball who could be competing for a spot in our rotation as early as next season. And we've won 2 of our first 3 games in September, so we continue chugging along here. But another injury in this one may have an impact on a lot of levels. Catcher Drew Romo, our excellent defensive catcher, is day-to-day for the next 2 weeks with a concussion. I do find it kind of entertaining that OOTP, which has been somewhat progressive over the past few years in terms of changing greed to financial ambition and changing intelligence to baseball IQ, still is going to, in 2026, view a concussion as something that's day-to-day that you can kind of walk off, because that's definitely not where most people are in terms of their dealing with head injuries and concussions these days. You can see moderate impact on hitting, throwing, and running, and although in theory we could have him play through this, not going to be something that we do. So we are definitely going to weaken our defense at catcher pretty materially for the next couple of weeks, but I don't think having a guy with a concussion as your catcher is necessarily the greatest idea. And given that Romo is so good defensively, he brings that captain personality and a good influence to our clubhouse. And he's also actually hit .282 this year. Don't want to risk this becoming anything that become a more significant injury, maybe have a bigger impact on his future going forward. Tough situation since we're right in the middle of a playoff race, but I don't ultimately think we're going to have a ton of success even if we do make it to the playoffs, and don't want to mess with potential damage to Romo's long-term health. And we'll see if we can hold things together behind the plate. Austin Wells will move from right field to becoming our everyday catcher. He's been our backup most of the year. And we did have Jorge Alfaro in AAA. He hit just .212 down there, but he is at least a respectable defensive catcher. And the right-handed batter will be our everyday catcher against left-handed pitching the rest of the way. And we ended up taking 3 out of 4 against the Diamondbacks at home. So as we sit here on September 7th, 6.5 behind the Dodgers in the division. And we are 2 up on the Braves for the final wild card spot now. So it's 74-65. The dream of a winning record is definitely in view. And a shocking and still to me somewhat inexplicable playoff appearance is becoming more of a probability, or at least a legitimate possibility. And unfortunately came down to earth a little bit over the past week, a 2-4 record with just 1 win in San Francisco and 1 win in Chicago against the Cubs. Fortunately, Romo looks like he is healthy, so we will certainly bring him back, which should help. 9.5 back in the division. Dodgers magic number down to 9. Still up on the Braves, but only by 1 game. after losing 3 in a row for the final wild card spot in the National League. And one positive from our better play has been that fan interest has ticked up a couple of points to 61. Still not great, and we still have to deal with that pathetic fan loyalty, but making a little progress. As I noted, Romo is back, 2 games at Texas, and then 3 games at home against the Athletics this week. And then it's the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Dodgers before moving to the month of October for 3 final games against the Giants as we try to inexplicably guide this team to a potential winning record and a potential playoff berth. And unfortunately, we seem to be coming down to earth a little bit at the worst possible time. We were swept in Texas, did take 2 out of 3 against the A's, but a second consecutive week with a losing record for us as we are trying to compete for the playoffs. 8 behind in the division as the Dodgers have lost 5 in a row and half a game up on the final wild card spot. And we're actually 3 free of the Braves, who are the first team out. They've lost 6 in a row, which has certainly helped us. So we're still not in a bad spot to somehow guide this team into the playoffs, but I'll believe it when I see it. But we're getting close. 3 against the Dodgers and then 3 at the Padres this week. Certainly when we look at the budgets of these teams and the rosters of these teams, the Dodgers, who of course have the biggest budget and the biggest payroll in baseball, with a huge market and a loaded roster, look like they should dominate us in every possible way. But they are reeling right now and would love to kind of, at this point, get this team into the playoffs. We're only 4 wins away from also ensuring a winning record this year. So there's a lot for us to play for over these final couple weeks of the season. And our plucky Rockies continue to fight. Lost the first 2 against the Dodgers. Actually got crushed in both games, giving up 12 and 15 runs. Salvaged the final game at home against the Dodgers, and then we've won the first 2 on the road against the Padres, including an 8-6 win in 11 innings yesterday. So as we sit here on September 26th, 81 and 74, need just 1 more win to clinch a winning record, and half a game ahead of the final wild card spot, 4 games ahead of the Braves to just get a wild card spot period. So the magic number to somehow guide this team to the playoffs is down to 4. At this point, it's going to be a disappointment if we don't make it. Injury-wise, Ryu, the left-hander who we signed to that minor league contract from Japan, done for the year, shoulder inflammation that's going to keep him out for 6 weeks. He was not good with an ERA of close to 6 and 3 home runs allowed in 12 1/3 innings at the major league level. I'd say the big hope right now is that we get Tovar back for the final couple days of the season. Supposedly going to be out for another 5 days. Hopefully we'll have him for that final series against the Giants. And it's hard to imagine that we won't be playing for something important at that point. So it would be great to get Tovar back by then. And we did unfortunately lose the final game of the series to the Padres, so we still have not clinched a winning record and obviously haven't clinched a playoff berth. 3 left this month on the road against the Dodgers, and then as we talked about, we'll be at home for the final 3 games against the Giants, which are likely to be pivotal in our playoff chances. Half a game up on the final wild card spot, 3 games up on the Braves to avoid missing the playoffs entirely. Unfortunately, with our loss and the Braves win, our magic number for the wild card spot remains at 4. And we did get a huge win against the Dodgers, 12-6 in the first game of the series in Chavez Ravine. They jumped out to a 6-0 lead on us after 3 innings, and then we stormed back with 3 in the fourth and 4 in the fifth to take the lead. 3-run homer by Wells, the big blow in the fourth, and big win for us. Rough outing for Bobby Miller. I would think probably one of his worst outings of the year since he got into the rotation. Aaron Ashby gets the W for us in relief, though, and with that win against the Dodgers, we have clinched a winning record, and we're now a game and a half up on the Reds for the final wild card spot. Magic number down to 3, as the Diamondbacks with a W are now the team that is lurking to try to bounce either us or the Reds from the playoffs. And the good news is a second straight victory against the mighty Dodgers, 5-0 shutout. So a great pitching performance from Alcantara, 2 hits, no earned runs over 6 innings. Chavili, who was an all-star for us last year with a 3-inning perfect pitched save. Unfortunately, Vinny Pasquantino and Tyson Miller ejected in the 9th inning for a bench-clearing ball. Pasquantino going to be suspended for the next 5 games, so essentially the rest of this season. We're now up 2.5 on the Reds for the final wild card spot, though, and the magic number is down to 2 as the Diamondbacks do keep winning, 9-1 in their last 10 with 7 wins in a row. Well, the good news is Tovar looks like he will be healthy for that final series of the year, so that will definitely tighten up our defense and hopefully give us some more offense against the Giants. Bad news is we did lose the final game of the series against the Dodgers, so a 1.5 game lead now on the Reds, who did get a W. Magic number remains as 2 as the Diamondbacks continue to win as well. So we're in a solid position to guide this team into the playoffs with just 3 games left, but it is still not guaranteed. And we had an off day on the first day of October. The Diamondbacks continue to win, but the Reds did lose, so we are now 2 games up on the final wild card spot, which the Reds and the Diamondbacks are now tied for. Magic number down to 2, and the Giants still, in theory, alive. The Giants certainly going to be looking for a sweep against us, and then they're going to be hoping that the Reds and the Diamondbacks both lose all 3 of their games. That's the only potential path they have to the playoffs, but they are still technically alive as we begin this final series of the regular season here in 2026. And might as well just sim through and find out what happens live with you as we try to guide these Rockies to an inexplicable playoff appearance. And we did get a 6-5 win. Gregory Santos, unfortunately, and we're in the wild card, so that's good news. Unfortunately, Gregory Santos has been dealing with shoulder inflammation, and trying to have him pitch through it, given that we've been fighting for a playoff spot. But now that the playoff spot is here, he's going to need a couple weeks of rehab, although he's still technically day-to-day, but certainly at this point going to bench him at least for the rest of the regular season. So a shocking playoff appearance for our Rockies, a 6-5 win over the Giants to eliminate them. Schlittler with a rough outing, 5 hits, 3 walks, 3 earned runs over 4 2/3 innings. But ultimately Santos got the W in relief. Hill with his 28th save of the year. So although Santos' arm may have fallen off, having him in did help guide us to this victory. And not just are we going to have a winning record this year, but by virtue of our win and the Reds and the Diamondbacks both losing, we have clinched a playoff spot here in 2026. And right now, we've improved 26 games from the 58 wins that we had a year ago, and still have an opportunity to tack another couple wins onto that number. And another W, a 5-2 victory over the Giants in the penultimate game of the year. Feltner gets his 11th win of the season. Quality start, 2 earned runs over 6 1/3 innings for him. He had lost a lot of games recently, but does get the 11th win of the year and the Player of the Game award. Just 1 game left and not really playing for anything at this point. Have to see who's set up. We may want to start thinking about the pitching rotation, although Alcantara, who pitched 5 days ago, will be ready. We are going to, I don't know if we're going to let Bobby Miller pitch. We'll probably need him for Game 3 of the playoffs. Braden Nett not quite ready. Schlittler not ready, but we may look for one of these guys that's been working out of the pen to take one for the team and let the starting pitchers rest a little bit. And we are going to let Carson Palmquist pitch this final game of the year. He threw 1 pitch 4 days ago, so hopefully he can give us a few innings. We're going to sit Alcantara, we're going to sit Bobby Miller, and we're actually going to also sit Aaron Ashby out of the bullpen since he hasn't pitched in a while. All of those guys will be fighting for spots in the playoff series. Alcantara definitely has one, but certainly possible that Miller or Ashby may need to start for us in the playoffs. So we're going to bench those guys and try to give ourselves as many options as possible for this unexpected wild card series that we're going to be playing in. And everything continues to come up Millhouse for our Rockies. A 1-0 win over San Francisco on the final day of the year. Allowed just 1 hit, and we walked it off with a solo homer by Tovar in the bottom of the 9th, so can't ask for much better than that. Palmquist, a no-hitter through 7 innings before he was pulled. Soto also with a no-hit 8th. And Peguero trying to get the combined no-hitter, fails in that, giving up a hit in the top of the 9th, but ultimately gets the W. So a fantastic finish to the season for the Rockies, and did not think we were going to need to be doing a separate episode for the playoffs, but kind of thought when we started this episode that we'd be simming through the playoffs quickly to get to the off season. And amazingly, the Rockies, an 86-win team this year, 28-win improvement from a year ago, and we are going to be in a wild card series, and we are going to be facing off against the NL Central winning St. Louis Cardinals. Actually, no, wild card team, the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cubs won the division, but a 90-win St. Louis Cardinals team that were second in the NL Central will be hosting us in a wild card series that will be starting in our next episode. So I don't really understand what has happened this season on paper. We've just gotten incredibly lucky. 16 wins in August. We were 500 in September, 3-0 in October to ultimately put ourselves in position for not just the winning record, but also to ensure that we were in the playoffs. The 86 and 76 record is really only one above Pythagorean expectations. The offense ended up being average, 8th in the league with runs scored. And with the ragtag pitching bunch that we have together and all of the injuries to key pitchers, I don't understand how we were 3rd in the National League in runs allowed with half our games in cores, but only fourth in the league in home runs allowed. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but we will take it. The Rockies are going to the playoffs here in 2026, and we'll find out how we do in our next episode. Until then, thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.